It's time for another Dice Tower review with Z. Garcia.
Hey everybody, today I am taking a look at Salvation Road here. Salvation Road is a game in which it's a post-apocalyptic game, think Mad Maxian, and you are trying to gather the right goods, you're trying to gather food, fuel, ammo, to make a trek across the land to a fabled place called Salvation, and hopefully be allowed in and survive out the apocalypse. But you're going to be avoiding a lot of different things along the way, mainly personified by marauders attacking your settlement. So, let me give you a look at how the game works, and then we'll come back and I'll tell you how I felt about it. So here's what the game looks like, set up, ready to begin. In this case, we are taking a look at a game for 3 players. And the objective of the game is very simple. We are trying to survive long enough, these marauders, gather enough goods until we are able to leave on a trip on this truck here to try to make it to Salvation and hopefully have enough supplies for the trip that we can make it into Salvation and win the game. And we lose the game if we are overwhelmed, if certain characters die, etc. There's many ways to lose, one way to win, as per typical cooperative game scenarios. So, this is, as I said, is the game setup. Each player is going to get a hero and a survivor, okay? And so you could have several different people, but each one basically has the same pieces of information. So let's take a look at this here. And I just picked a random one for now. This person has, as you can see, an illustration of the character. And you are going to get a little standee for that person so that you know when they move around from location to location. They have a number of spots on the card that lets you know how many goods they can carry. And also, if they get wounded, then those wounds will go on those spaces and take up spaces where they could carry supplies. If the card becomes completely filled, the character will die as well, and everybody has some sort of action, some sort of special ability. Sometimes it's a detriment, sometimes it's a special ability, okay? So that's basically how that works. So, let's back out here again so I can give you a look at all the moving parts of the game and show you how a round of the game goes. Each round of the game has 4 phases: the action phase, threat, apocalypse, and the refresh phase. So the action phase, each player going around the table, starting from the starting player, who's going to have this marker here, is going to have one of their characters who starts here at the compound take 2 actions. I'll go over what those actions are in just a second. Let me not stop there now and keep going. So everybody takes 2 actions with one of their 2 characters, the survivor or the hero, and everybody does that. Then it goes around one more time, taking 2 actions with the other character you haven't yet activated. After that comes the threat phase, where we are going to roll some of these dice for each location that has been revealed. These have not been revealed yet. And you're going to roll some dice depending on the threat level of the location and the number of characters there, and see if someone has to take a wound. Okay? After that comes the apocalypse phase, where we are going to flip over one of these cards and something bad is going to happen. More people show up at the compound, the marauders here. Someone takes wounds, something bad happens. You burn through supplies, things like that. And then finally comes the refresh phase, where we're going to remove all the activation markers. You're going to remove these location markers. That means they got used up, a special power. And just basically prepare for the next round. You would also then decide, if all the people are at the compound anyway, if you want to start making the trek to Salvation, okay? You can choose when you leave. You definitely have to feel ready with enough supplies in the truck here, but you can choose when you leave, all right? So, let me show you what the actions are, and this truck, by the way, should have some food on it. It begins with some food on it. So here are the actions. I'm going to go down the actions right now. So the first one is move, which is very simple. You can, on your turn, move a character. If you arrive at a location that has not been flipped over, you flip that location over. You put a threat marker on the first spot of that location, and you add some supplies to that location, flipping over one of these cards, and it tells you, okay, some medical supplies and some ammunition. And then this is discarded, all right? The other actions are, you can gather, which means take one from where you are and put it on your characters. I showed you before, this being your character, you would do that. So that can be an action. You can rest if you are at the compound and get rid of a face-down wound. You can fight. If you're at the compound, you are going to roll some of these black dice and try to get rid of these marauders that are going to start showing up around the edge of the compound here. And if they all show up, again, you would lose the game. So you got to sort of keep them at bay. You can shoot, which is a more effective way of getting rid of the marauders, but it requires ammo. You can heal, which requires meds. You can recover a character that's been delayed. Just means you waste an action. You stand back up for one action, and it costs you half your turn. Or you can transfer stuff from one player to another, or from you to the truck, if you're at the compound, or sometimes from the truck back to yourself. Usually the transfer, the first time you do it per turn is free. So it's typically free. You don't typically have to do more than one. So that's basically it. Also, each of the goods has some specific power associated with it. So, like, you know, the guns, the ammo lets you shoot, of course, but food, for example, would let you take an extra action, and the fuel up here would let you take one free move, so like an extra action, but it has to be a move. Things like that, all right? So, that's basically it. So my first actions, my first turn with this guy could be moving over here, flipping this over, and then taking that item that I put on him. And then it would be the next player's turn. They might go somewhere else, etc. Flip over a card. Same thing, put this threat marker on there. And let's say it was this person. And take something. Again, you have to supply it. And they could do another action now, which could be gathering, or they could do an action that's pre-printed on these locations. You can do that as well. And then once you do it, you cover it up so that we know for the entirety of this round, no one else can do this. Okay? Once that's all been done, we would go to the threat phase, where you are going to roll dice and see if characters take wounds. Okay? One thing I want to mention is that these locations, once everything dries up and you have to do the search action, you would then, let's say these are already gone, they're already on the truck, let's say, then you would search by increasing the threat level and drawing another one of these cards and putting more supplies at each of these locations. And so you can generate more goodies at these places, but the threat level keeps going up and up. So let's say it's here. It says +1 right there. Once it's the threat phase, this there's a single character here. Let's say there's 2. And the threat says +1. We would roll 3 dice. 1 per character and whatever the location says. And then we would split up these wounds however you want to among the people there. You do that for every character, not back at the compound. Once that's done, we do the apocalypse phase, where you flip over one of these cards. And it says something. In this case, it tells you how many marauders shows up at the top. And then it says each character reveals 2 wounds, then resolves those revealed wounds. What does that mean? Very simple. If a character has wounds, like so, and you need to reveal them, you just flip them over, and the other side has some sort of special effect. Now, this character himself would never do that, well, because he says it right there. But assuming this was someone else, you would flip these over. That one, which says injury, is nothing extra, which is nice. And this one, sprained wrist, which means the character has to drop one good they're carrying. And this one would be an extra wound, which means you would go like that. There's a few different effects in the game, okay? After the apocalypse phase, we then refresh all the stuff, get rid of the card here, and ready everybody and get these things off of the locations, etc. Get ready for the next round and pass this start player marker along. Now, once you have decided to leave, though, then you are going to move up to this phase, which is endgame, basically, and then you'll go through them. So, let's say they were all like this. They had all been scouted but not explored. You'd flip the first one over and say, oh, okay, I am going to give up 3 fuel from the truck and 2 ammunition. All right. Next, you move over to the next one. And everybody's basically in a caravan in that truck trying to make it to salvation. If at any point along the trip here with these 3 cards, you cannot pay what you need to pay, game over, you've lost. Everybody, because it's cooperative. If you get all the way to salvation, you still need to pay a toll. The toll is based on the number of players, and it goes like this. You flip over one of these cards with the goods, and you pay all of it on one side. So in this case, 1 ammo or 2 health kits. If you have it, 2 health kits, great, paid it. You get rid of it, and you do it again. In 3 players, which is what this is, you're going to have to do 3 of these cards. So again, you do it. 2 fuel, 1 food, okay, great, 1 food, great. And then finally, look at that, I actually got it. 2 fuel, 1 health kit, 1 health kit, perfect. We have made it to salvation. The first thing that made an impression on me in this game, of course, is the cover. And I find the cover just to be so-so. It's a lot of browns here, which I get. The post-apocalyptic thing does not necessarily thrive on color, but the quality of the artwork is just so-so for me. But getting past all of that, the gameplay was a lot more, I don't want to say balanced. It was a lot more Euro style than what I expected going in. I thought it was going to be one of these games that was high on story, lots going on, but also tons of luck and just random things happening left and right. And this is not that. And in fact, I worry a little bit that folks are going to look at this game and think, oh, post-apocalyptic, here we go. This is going to be a random luck fest. Pass. Or pick it up for that reason and then be disappointed. This is not that exactly. This is one of those games that marries theme to solid mechanisms and a lot of, manipulation from the players, which is great. I love the locations, and I showed you just the 4 there, but there's a good stack of them in the game, so they're going to be different from game to game. I like the characters. They each have a little power, and you can use them to your advantage, or sometimes it's, as I said, a disadvantage, and you got to be careful with, what you do with them. I like the gathering of resources. It's not the typical shoot 'em up kind of post-apocalyptic thing, This is a little more subdued than that, and I really like that. I thought it was a very well done game. I like the vibe of it. I like that the whole game feels like a big push your luck game for that final hurrah at the end, And I've had games that are just nail biters. Even in the overview there, you saw that last flip was a win. And that's great. I love it. You always have those moments where you go, okay, guys, do we keep going? One more round of gathering stuff, or do we leave? And everybody's sitting there going, I don't know if we can make it another round, and you're allowed to have one of your 2 characters die, but not both. If they both die, you're out of the game. The game's over. So it's a lot of this sort of tension, push your luck. It does ratchet up in a really nice way, the tension. And so the whole thing is a pretty solid game. Now, I do have some complaints. The main one and the big one here is that I think the game possibly doesn't have the replayability that I wish it had. Games do tend to play out the same way, You're doing the same things from game to game to game a little more than I'd like. Like, it's a little closer than I would like with the, go here, gather, go here, flip a new card, do this, throw it on the truck. And so I'm worried about longevity on this one. That's my main issue. But the gameplay is solid. And if you If parts of this really spoke to you, then I would recommend definitely checking it out. This is a well done, well put together game that uses this theme in sort of a fresh way. You know, it's not the typical post-apocalyptic go out there and mow everybody down kind of thing. You're like that group of people in that settlement in the Road Warrior, you know, gathering goods, trying to get ready for that trek across the desert. And I dig it. Very well done game. Salvation Road is a winner from Ryder Games, and I would recommend it to fans of the genre and fans of Euro-style games. This is going to give you that. So, check this one out, Salvation Road.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at DicetowerNetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.